Alright, pardon the mess. I got a huge pile of crap all over my workbench. But I'm just trying to tidy up a few things and start boxing things up so that next, Tuesday, we start moving all of our acquired junk to the new place. Really thinning out a lot of my stuff that I've basically saved because I'm a hoarder when it comes to car parts. And it's served me well over the years. But now that we are downsizing to a smaller house, I don't really have as much room to hoard all that crap. So I'm going to keep the stuff that I really have solid plans for. And then I'm going to either sell or do something with all the other stuff that I was just keeping for that, well, what if in the future clause. But I was down here doing some modifications to these F-body manifolds. I found online where when you're doing the LS swaps into these first gen S10s, a lot of guys are saying you have to have these F-body manifolds. I'm not 100% sure I even have the right ones. But because I moved that engine forward 2 1/4 inches, it was causing a little bit of, what would you call it? Just a slight clearance issue with the flange. See if you guys can see this. But this triangle flange that's usually on these manifolds is huge and was causing me all kinds of problems trying to test fit them in because they were hitting the A-arms. And I was like, well, shit, I can't even get these things to sit flush on the head to see if they would work to begin with. So my friend Richard, he was like, well, what we ought to do, and it would make the exhaust super easy to take loose and work on for future reference, is just switch that thing over to like V-band clamp, like a V-band connection. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't want to get into a bunch of headaches or whatever. He's like, oh, people do it all the time on the turbos. And they just basically convert their stock manifolds over to a V-band and will run that, stuff like that. And he goes, we use these things all the time at work on the diesels, and they don't leak, So I was like, oh, okay, let's try that then. So I came down. I'm glad I switched over to the diamond impregnated blade, because the first manifold I cut, I just used a regular bimetal blade. Man, it seemed like it took forever. I was like, man, this, it's not super hard. I'm not saying it, don't get me wrong. It's not like you're going to be there for an hour. But I was just thinking, man, this thing doesn't really cut that good. So I switched over to a longer, that diamond tipped Sawzall blade that you can get. I just happened to have a brand new one in my Sawzall box. So I thought, well, I'm going to throw this thing in there and see if it'll do better. And it did. Got them both locked off pretty good. But here's something I noticed immediately when I set them back up on the workbench. Now, when I got these manifolds, they were a set. They still had the catalytic converters on them, O2 sensors, everything. I cannot for the life of me remember if it was a 2000, 2001, or 2002 Firebird or Camaro. I can't remember. But if you look at the openings, look at the difference in size between this opening and this opening. It's a little bit dirty, but I mean it's visibly larger. Now in my mind I'm thinking, well, why would the driver's side downpipe be that much larger than the passenger side? And then I started worrying. I'm like, maybe the guy that, sold me these things, maybe they didn't match. Maybe they weren't from the same car. I don't know. The passenger side manifold, I believe, is going to work perfect. If you'll look, now keep in mind, I am not worried in any way about the sealing. Like whenever I go to weld this V-band on here, you know what I mean? it will weld on and seal both of those openings. You know what I mean? I'm not worried at all about not being able to seal these, but they are definitely not the same size. So we're gonna, get these things centered, make sure we got everything filled, and weld that on, because these are cast steel manifolds that you can weld with a MIG welder or a TIG welder. But we will get these V-bands on there, just in case you don't, maybe not everybody's familiar with those. But you'll basically have that part welded on there, and then you'll have this part on your exhaust pipe, and it'll connect with a V-band right in the middle. So you got one bolt that'll seal that thing up leak free, and one bolt if you want to drop it loose. So I don't see why every vehicle coming from the factory isn't set up with a V-band connection on their exhaust manifolds or their exhaust, because I can't imagine anything working any better. So got those things lopped off. I did do some test fitting on them. A little bit worried about the exit point on the driver's side, only because we have that hydraulic throwout. So we have to account for that hydraulic line that goes from the clutch master down to the hydraulic throwout itself. But we want to make sure and dump it where it'll clear everything and not have any crazy bends or nothing goofy to get down through there to hook up to my dual exhaust. So I'm gonna put the because it was in excellent shape. I'm gonna reuse the 2.5-inch true duals with the 18-inch MagnaFlow mufflers. This time I'm gonna try I'm not gonna run tailpipes. Previously, it always had some version of a tailpipe that exited behind the rear tires. This time, I'm going to just run turndowns. I decided that I was kind of tired of that pure, just stock sounding vehicle. So I don't know that it's going to sound that much better, but I'm just going to come out of the back of those mufflers and just turn them down towards the ground right before the rear end. So that always seemed to sound good on cars when I was young. So I'm going to, since this motor's not cammed or anything like that, if I could just, create a little bit of a V8 rumble underneath there, I think I'd be happy with it, as long as it doesn't drone me out when I get on the stupid highway. But it is Christmas Eve. We are constantly in perpetual motion to try to get everything thrown away, sorted through, getting rid of clothing that for some reason we were saving like we're ever going to use again. I've been selling off any extra crap from my shop that I'm not going to be able to fit in the new one, and just trying to get everything at least bolted on so that we can transport this S10 Blazer to the new house. So it's been a great learning experience so far working on this thing, and we're trying to make it as user friendly and maintenance friendly as we can. Every time we install something, we modify something, just like when we did the gas tank, we added the access panel door so that you can just go through the back of the vehicle and change the pump if you want to. It's got just 3/8-6 or 3/8 fuel lines for the feed and return. It's got an easily accessible and cleanable, I think it's 40 micron filter underneath the side, on the frame. We're trying to make everything as easy as it can be to service or upgrade. Maybe at one point, maybe I'll win the lottery or something and can get a T56 Magnum, throw it in here and throw a turbo on it. Who knows? But, if anybody wanted to upgrade the fuel pump to a bigger size, all you got to do is open the access panel and pull your sending unit out and throw a bigger pump in there. So anyway, I hope you guys have been following the build. I'm kind of rambling at this point because I've got so many things going through my mind as far as trying to get ready to move. So I am not looking forward to the move. I have procrastinated as much as I can, and it's coming down to crunch time where I got to go ahead and bite the bullet and, you know, separate ways. I'm going to have to part ways with some of the stuff that I never thought I'd get rid of, but that's the way it works. Hopefully everything will be good in 2017. We will get this thing up and running. I'd like to have some videos of it actually making noise again. That would be unique. Anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. Get ready now. Santa's coming tonight. Talk to you guys later.